In life, we often imagine strength as something loud, a shout, a clash, a force that breaks down walls. But real strength, the kind that endures, is often quiet. It lives in stillness, forged not in comfort, but in the fires of adversity. Like steel, tempered by flame, we become stronger, not despite our struggles, but because of them. Life will test us. That's not a threat. It's a promise. The Stoics didn't deny this truth. They welcomed it. For them, adversity was not a curse, but a crucible. Each challenge, each moment of pain became an opportunity to refine the soul, to sharpen character, to strip away what's unnecessary and reveal what's essential. It wasn't the storm they feared, but how they responded to it. They knew it's not what happens to us, but how we judge what happens, how we choose to respond. That shapes our reality. Pain doesn't have to break us. Fear doesn't have to freeze us. Anger doesn't have to define us. In the stillness between event and reaction, we hold a power few ever fully grasp, the power to choose. And that power is where freedom lives. Epictetus, once a slave, understood this better than most. He reminded us that even when everything else is stripped away, our possessions, our status, our health, our response remains ours alone. No one can take that from us. Let me ask you this: when the world feels out of control, when people disappoint you, when fate strikes, without warning, what would happen if you paused? If you refused to be swept away, what might you discover in that pause? That's where Stoicism begins to take root, in the deliberate act of choosing who you will be, regardless of what life throws at you. The Stoics didn't retreat from life's storms. They learned how to stand in them, unshaken, anchored in clarity and values. When Seneca spoke of limiting desires, he wasn't calling for poverty. He was pointing to freedom. Excessive craving is a kind of slavery, an endless hunger that gnaws away at peace. The more we want, the more we suffer. So they simplified, not because life was better that way, but because truth became clearer in the quiet. They sought only what was needed to live with virtue, to walk through the world with decency and dignity, not weighed down by the constant chase for more. There's a kind of peace that comes from needing little, a kind of clarity that emerges when you stop chasing what you can't control. And in that stillness, something amazing happens. You begin to feel full even with less. You begin to feel rich even without gold. What if your calm didn't depend on getting more, but on wanting less? What if serenity was closer than you think? Not in the next thing you acquire, but in letting go. And so the Stoics came to build their lives on virtue, not on wealth, not on pleasure, not on fame. They spoke of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance as the compass points that could guide any human being through any storm. Wisdom to know what truly matters. Courage to face what must be faced. Justice to act fairly no matter the cost. Temperance to remain balanced even when desire or fear pulls at the heart. These weren't lofty ideals to admire from afar. They were living tools, practical grounding, transformative. Each virtue worked like a keel beneath a ship, keeping the soul steady in the high seas of emotion and change. And in time, by practicing them again and again, the Stoic becomes less reactive, more rooted, less at the mercy of life, and more in harmony with it. Think for a moment about what you anchor your life to. Is it stable? Will it hold when the wind rises? Because when values are clear, decisions become easier. Peace becomes possible. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire, knew that everything, his power, his wealth, his very breath, was fleeting. In his private writings, he reminds us again and again, all things pass. This moment, this person, this feeling, it will change. Nothing stays. But that truth, far from being a source of sorrow, becomes a source of serenity. When we stop clinging, we begin to live more fully. When we understand the impermanence of all things, we stop taking life for granted. We love more deeply. We speak more kindly. We waste less time. It's easy to forget, isn't it? We rush, we grasp, we act like we'll live forever, But look closer, everything is slipping through our fingers like water, and that's not tragedy, it's beauty. So I'll ask you now, what might change in your life if you truly accepted that everything is temporary? How would you treat the people you love? The moments you're given, the pain you're holding? Through this awareness, the Stoics found peace, but they also found gratitude. Seneca, ever the teacher of the heart, urged us to look not at what is missing, but at what remains. Gratitude became their silent revolution, a defiant act in a world obsessed with more. They didn't wait for life to be perfect to give thanks. They found joy in the ordinary, in a moment of quiet, in the fact that they could still breathe, still try, still love. Gratitude for the Stoic was armor and compass alike. It protected the heart from bitterness and pointed it toward light. In a storm, you don't need more things, you need a steady soul. And gratitude, more than anything, steadies the soul. Right now, what are you grateful for? Not someday, not when things improve, but today. Have you noticed it, felt it, named it from this soil of humility and presence? Something extraordinary grows, the desire to keep growing, to keep becoming, to keep learning, not because you're broken, but because you're alive. Epictetus urged us never to stop refining ourselves, to become not someone else, but the truest version of who we are, beneath fear, beneath ego, beneath noise. For the Stoic, self-improvement wasn't vanity, it was virtue, a sacred calling. We are not static, we are ships in motion, always capable of navigating more wisely, always capable of correcting course. Even when we stumble, especially when we stumble. Progress, not perfection, the journey, not the end. So here's the real question. Are you still growing, not just older, but deeper, kinder, wiser? Because every moment is an invitation, not just to survive, but to become. This is the heart of Stoicism. Not cold detachment, but courageous presence. Not the denial of pain, but the mastery of response. Not escape from life, but a fierce and grounded way to engage with it. Through every trial, every test, every quiet moment of decision, you are forging yourself. And in doing so, you uncover the kind of strength that can't be shaken. You discover calm, not because life is easy, but because you have chosen to live wisely. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real power Stoicism offers us. Not a shield from life, but a path through it. One rooted in clarity and virtue, in the unshakable truth that no matter what comes, we can remain calm, steady, and free. You are not finished, not yet, because life keeps asking the same question over and over again. Who will you be when things fall apart? Who are you when the plan doesn't go your way, when the silence stretches longer than you hoped, when the people you counted on let go of your hand? This is where the Stoic path becomes more than philosophy. It becomes a way of being. When the world rushes, you slow down. When others react, you reflect. When fear tries to grab you by the throat, you breathe deeply. And remember, you are not your fear. You are not your anger. You are not even your thoughts. You are the one who sees them, who shapes them, who chooses how to respond. And with that choice comes great power. Not the kind that shouts or conquers, but the power to remain whole. The power to build a life that doesn't shatter when the winds rise. The Stoics handed down this truth like a torch. Through time, the external world may tremble, but the inner fortress is yours to build. And if built well, it will not fall. Now pause and ask yourself, what kind of life are you building? Are your foundations rooted in things that change or in values that endure? Because if you're honest with yourself, you'll know deep down you are capable of more peace than you've allowed, more strength than you've shown, more presence than you've practiced. You just have to return to what matters. Again and again. This return isn't dramatic, it's subtle. It's the moment you let go of resentment instead of feeding it. It's when you speak truth, even though your voice trembles. It's when you say enough to the constant craving and begin to feel full with what already is. That's the work. That's the way. And the beauty is, it never ends. There's no final plateau, no finish line. The Stoics didn't aim for perfection. They aimed for progress. Every day they returned to their practice. Every day they asked, what am I doing with my life? Am I living in alignment with my values? Have I acted with courage? Have I been just? Have I shown restraint when it mattered? You don't need to be born wise. You only need to begin. Begin today. Begin with the smallest thing, a breath, a pause, a quiet choice to be better, not louder, stronger, not harder, wiser, not more clever. Can you feel it? That small pull in your chest, the part of you that knows you were made for something deeper. That's not sentiment, that's your soul remembering what it was built for. So take this moment to begin again, to walk a little slower, to listen more carefully, to let go of what no longer serves you. And to pick up with steady hands the ancient torch passed down from Marcus, from Seneca, from Epictetus, a flame not of fire but of clarity. Because when you hold that flame close, the fog starts to lift. You see the path more clearly, and you realize that calm is not something to chase. It's something to return to, something you carry, something that's been waiting within you all along. That's the gift of Stoicism, not a rigid system, but a living invitation. A call to return to your inner sanctuary, a call to walk with virtue, to live awake, to endure with dignity, to love without clinging, and to meet whatever comes not with fear, but with calm, not with resistance, but with grace. So now, in this moment, what will you choose? Because your next action shapes your character, and your character over time becomes your destiny. You don't have to rush. You don't have to be perfect. You only have to begin right here, right now, with courage in your chest, gratitude in your heart, and the quiet conviction that you were made for this. And as you continue step by step, something begins to shift. You stop needing the world to bend to your will. You stop waiting for perfect circumstances. You realize finally that peace is not a reward for getting everything right. It's a decision, one that can be made again and again, even in the face of chaos, especially in the face of chaos. This is where the deepest freedom lies, not in the power to control others, but in the ability to master yourself, to choose your response when life is loud, to stay still when everything in you wants to lash out or run away. That's the Stoic art of living, choosing calm over drama, clarity over noise, purpose over panic. You begin to notice the small moments, a quiet sunrise, the sound of your own breath, the steady rhythm of your heart still beating despite everything you've been through. These moments are not distractions, they're invitations to return, to be present, to live wide awake. And in those moments, gratitude becomes a kind of superpower, not the fluffy kind that denies pain, but the grounded kind that says, even in this, especially in this, there's something to honor. Seneca spoke to this. He reminded us that gratitude isn't about having more, it's about seeing more. It's about shifting the lens even when the view is hard. So the question becomes, can you be grateful now, not later, not when it's all figured out, but now in the middle of the mess, in the thick of uncertainty? Can you recognize the quiet gifts life is offering you, even as it tests your patience? Because that's the paradox the Stoics understood so well. The hardest seasons often bring the richest lessons, not because suffering is noble, but because it strips away the noise and reveals what truly matters. Let me ask you, what has life been trying to teach you lately beneath the surface? What have your struggles shown you about your strength? When you take time to reflect, you see it clearly. Growth is happening, not always visibly, not always comfortably, but steadily, quietly, like roots beneath the soil. Your resilience is deepening, your perspective is widening, and your peace is no longer dependent on things going your way. This is what Epictetus meant when he said that no one can harm you without your consent, not because you're untouchable, but because your worth isn't up for negotiation. You decide what matters. You decide what to carry. You decide who you become in the fire, and the longer you walk this path, the more you see how much strength lives in softness, how much courage it takes to stay kind, and how radical it is to simply remain calm in a world that profits off your panic. So you keep going, not because it's easy, but because you've tasted the quiet power that comes from choosing stillness over struggle. And because you know now, deep in your bones, that real power doesn't roar. It listens, it learns, it grows, and it stays steady, even in the storm. This is the life the Stoics invite you into, a life of clarity, humility, and strength. Not a perfect life, but a practiced one. Not a painless life, but a purposeful one. And in that purpose, you'll find a calm that no one can take from you, a peace that doesn't break when the world does, a light that stays on even in the dark. That's what it means to walk the Stoic path. And that's what you're doing right now, with every choice, every breath, every quiet return to what matters most. So keep going. You're closer than you think. And as the path unfolds before you, something profound begins to settle in your soul, a knowing that this journey is not about escaping difficulty, but about meeting it with courage. You understand now, adversity is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It refines you, not defines you. In every setback, there's a hidden lesson. In every frustration, an opportunity to practice patience. In every loss, a chance to let go with grace. The Stoics didn't teach detachment as indifference. They taught it as inner liberation, to love without clinging, to act without needing applause, to live fully without fearing the end. Marcus Aurelius, reflecting on the fleeting nature of life, reminds us that all things pass. The joy, the sorrow, the victories and defeats, they rise and fall like waves. But beneath those waves is something still and eternal: your character, your choices, your ability to respond with virtue. That's the heart of Stoicism. Not numbing yourself, but becoming more deeply alive. Alive to the truth that nothing lasts forever, so you might as well love, fully serve humbly, and let go gracefully. So when life changes, let it. When people leave, bless them. When seasons shift, breathe through it. You weren't made to hold on to everything. You were made to hold on to what matters. Your integrity, your peace, your path. Rehook. Ask yourself, what are you still clinging to that's already trying to leave? And what might happen if instead of resisting, you simply let go? Because the more you let go of what doesn't serve you, the more space you create for what truly does. And in that space, you start to grow again. Quietly, naturally, like sunlight breaking through the clouds. This is where the Stoic commitment to growth comes alive. Not growth for perfection's sake, but growth for truth's sake. Every moment becomes a chance to stretch, to evolve, to step closer to the person you were meant to be. Not all at once, but slowly, daily, consistently. Epictetus knew this. He taught that we are not finished products, but works in progress, that every day offers a new trial and therefore a new triumph. That wisdom isn't something you're born with. It's something you earn by showing up again and again, especially when it's hard, and that's what you're doing. Even now, by reading this, by reflecting, by choosing to engage rather than escape, you're practicing the Stoic life. Not in theory, but in motion. And in that practice, your peace becomes unshakable. Not because the world is quiet, but because you are. The truth is, life won't always reward you with ease. But if you stay rooted in the virtues, wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice, you'll walk through fire without losing your soul. You'll realize that you don't need the approval of the crowd. You don't need everything to go your way. You don't even need certainty. What you need is clarity, purpose, a compass that points inward, not outward. And with that compass, you'll find your way, not to a life free of storms, but to a life where you remain calm within them. A life where your peace isn't something you chase, but something you carry. Rehook. So I'll ask you again, what kind of person are you becoming, not in comfort, but in the crucible? What story are you writing with your daily choices? Because every act of discipline writes a new line, every moment of restraint a paragraph, every choice to remain calm under pressure a chapter. And one day you'll look back and see that your life has become a story of strength, not in spite of the struggle, but because of it. That's the Stoic promise. Not a guarantee of happiness, but a path to wholeness. Not freedom from difficulty, but freedom from dependence on it. And in that freedom, you'll find something more powerful than pleasure. You'll find peace. So let the world do what it does. Let it turn and twist and test you. You're not here to control it. You're here to master yourself within it. That's enough. That's everything. So now the choice is yours. You can let life's chaos sweep you away, or you can root yourself in wisdom, temperance, and inner strength. Let the ancient Stoic philosophy be more than just words in your mind. Let it be the compass that guides your daily actions, your quiet moments, your hardest days. Start small, reflect deeply, practice consistently. The calm you're searching for isn't out there, it's within you, waiting to be awakened. Begin today, not tomorrow, not someday. Today is the first step toward a calmer, stronger, unshakable you.